After an accident, Kevin meets an enigmatic man who offers him a perfect and millionaire life. He rejects an unknown offer, unaware it will take him to a parallel world. That's why you give Chip today. Remember, if you like the videos, you can support the channel by liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications. It's free and really helps me keep growing. Let's get started. This is the story of Kevin Garner, whom we meet as he emerges from a deep lake, telling us that this is not his real world, but he clarifies his willingness to do anything to return home. And mid-walk, he disappears. But his real story begins earlier, the day when the stock market crashes dramatically, causing great instability in his job. He goes to a bar for a drink and encounters a woman who approaches him, intending to get acquainted. Her name is Molly, and she has been challenged by her friends to talk to arrange a date. From that moment, they both have good chemistry and arrange a first date where they have a lot of fun. As time goes by, things get better and they end up getting engaged. But a few years after getting married, things go wrong when they lose their only child. The marriage goes into crisis, and our protagonist's boss starts to get tired of his attitude, hinting that he's going to fire him. After leaving there, Kevin gets stuck in traffic and gets distracted talking to his wife on the phone when a truck unexpectedly hits him. He soon wakes up before a stranger but faints again, unable to speak. An unknown amount of time passes before he wakes up again. The stranger, still by his side, introduces himself as the Benefactor. The protagonist tells him he's unable to stop hearing a buzzing noise. To help him, the Benefactor decides to hit him, and finally our protagonist becomes conscious again. The stranger tells him that he has a job proposal to help him and offers to accompany him to find his car. But upon reaching the street, we discover that the city is completely empty. Immediately, Kevin tells him that he will call the police and his wife. But the Benefactor assures him it won't work, as others have tried it before without success. Then, our protagonist starts to get upset, and that's when the man confesses to him that the rest of the people didn't change. The one who truly went to another place is him. Despite this, he agrees to dine with the stranger. At the restaurant, he notices everyone, even the waitress, is afraid of the Benefactor. During the meal, we discover that this man is really the devil, who forces the girl to sit next to him and eat from his plate with a knife. He explains that our choices create different realities, with each person perceiving a unique one, despite being in the same scenario just as it happened in his car accident. This means that there are many alternate universes in the crash he had brought him to this world. While Molly received a name from someone who truly cares about her, in this reality, our protagonist can't believe her words, so he asks for proof. And that's why the Benefactor pulled out an ultra-technological bracelet to send the waitress to another place. But the devil can't do all this alone, and for this reason, he needs him. It turns out that in all the other worlds, he has shifters in strategic positions to carry out his mission. Meanwhile, the journey from one universe to another tells him that all the other Kevins accepted the job. He offers to turn him into a supervisor of evil and promises him a perfect Molly for a happy marriage. But instead of responding, our protagonist begins to pray. The Benefactor becomes enraged, telling him that God won't help and tries to convince him he's making the wrong decision. He then disappears and our protagonist apologizes to the waitress's parents for what just happened. Upon leaving there, he comes across a city filled with security guards in futuristic suits. He manages to escape safely despite an apparent curfew in place. 5 years later, we see that our protagonist has had to adapt to this world, which was destroyed by war and hatred. Until one day the devil's shifters appeared, working in secret to exile politicians, pastors, soldiers, and anyone considered problematic. Thanks to this, millions of people died in exchange for a completely restored peace. Then he came and the few remaining leaders gave him control. So the Benefactor made a world in his image without faith or hope. But everything changed. The night of the restaurant, our protagonist became known as the one who refused. And since then, the devil has not been seen publicly. Kevin is currently sick and taking a lot of medication. Due to his nickname, he uses a fake name to work at a construction site. His only friend there, Gabriel, is the sole person aware of his truth. Throughout all this time, our protagonist writes every verse of the Bible he remembers and distributes it with the help of his friend. As a protest against the anti-religion law, he tries to help as many people as possible. Daily, he seeks clues to regain his former life or reunite with Molly. At times, he has dreams where he can see her and is happy, but other times, they are nightmares when he dreams of the death of his son, Molly. One day, he goes with a man named Russo who lost his cat a while ago and is still looking for it. He is the owner of a theater where you can see random broadcasts from other worlds. In these projections, he can get to see his wife, so he often goes trying to find the current image of Molly. The main character secretly watches private moments of others through a transmission unknown to them. He continues zapping despite the dark and terrifying things. Kevin unexpectedly sees his wife in a different reality, but deactivates the transmission upon leaving the circle. The worst part is that time is running out. He can't convince Russo to give him more time, so he'll have to return later. On his way home, he comes across a crowd protesting the ban on crossing to the south of the city. The police tell them that this area will be demolished, and for this reason, no one can cross. Suddenly, a stranger decides to forcefully jump and starts running towards the south. The most surprising thing is that he disappears out of nowhere, traveling to another world, and this only means that he is a shifter. The crowd begins an uncontrollable chaos in a moment that is surrounded by soldiers. But fortunately, Gabriel appears at the right second to save him. Both hide in an unknown place, and there the man reminds him that God has forgotten about it. Later, the protagonist notices a customer's son walking alone through the supermarket aisles while in the checkout line. Without hesitation, he tries to follow him while remembering the most desperate moment of his life. A few minutes later, the boy returns to his mother and confronts the woman, telling her to be more careful. Kevin's son wandered off unnoticed, but when he returned, Kevin became so upset that he drew the attention of everyone nearby. Amidst the panic, he runs home, recalling his original life when their son wandered off from them in the supermarket. The tragedy of this story is that the boy was not found, and days later the police found his backpack. So the only conclusion is that the little boy died. From this moment on, Molly began to drink alcohol during the mourning for the loss. But Kevin still clung to the idea that the boy was still alive, and that's why he gave her a necklace that had the phrase. This caused a big argument, as his wife was tired of him not feeling the same about the loss. As a result, the marriage was utterly destroyed. In the new reality, his neighbor Rajiv approaches him to ask if he's hungry and invites him to his house. We arrive to find the man has a beautiful, happy family. The evening goes very well until Rajiv confesses that he knows the real name of our protagonist, who immediately gets scared. Then, the neighbor tells him that he heard Gabriel say his name and that he knows about the distribution of scriptures with Bible verses. Kevin denies the accusations without hesitation, but the neighbor just smiles and asks his daughters to sing a beautiful religious song to show him that they are on his side, managing to move him to tears. Kevin agrees to teach the girls the Word of God for hours, through all the stories and metaphors he remembers from the Bible. Later, Rajit privately asks him about the tattoo on his wrist. Our protagonist tells him that it represents an empty tomb, and we can notice that it's the same symbol from the necklace he wanted to give Molly to remember their son. Later, the mayor makes a special broadcast to announce that the Benefactor has finally returned, and warns that anyone who breaks the rules will be punished with death. So Kevin decides to go back to Russo to ask him the favor of continuing to see the alternate worlds, and gives him a little hope about the search for his cat. The man agrees to help him, and Kevin manages to see Molly in what appears to be a life as a single mother with a nurse's uniform. He switches transmission and sees her in numerous completely different lives. However, he freezes upon seeing the reality where Molly has the necklace he gave her originally. This means that she is his true wife. He excitedly runs to Russo's office to ask for the coordinates of the location, but the man lost this information when he left the circle. In addition, even if he has the coordinates, he won't be able to travel to them without something called the diverter bracelet. The only people who can get it are the shifters. After leaving, he meets Gabriel and asks for help with his plan to obtain a weapon to attack the Benefactor. The problem is that his friend refuses because it's a suicide mission and because weapons are illegal. That's why our protagonist gives him the new scriptures, telling him they are the last ones. Gabriel agrees to give him his weapon, warning that killing the devil is ill-advised. But Kevin doesn't pay much attention, and the next day he starts following the Benefactor. He manages to slip away when the police get distracted by a fight among the citizens trying to see their leader. He enters the restaurant but suddenly finds himself in his hotel room. Confused, so he decides to leave. And again, he manages to see the Benefactor eating with a new version of himself. This means that the door is a transportation element. The worst part is that the police start shooting at him, managing to injure his arm. Kevin quickly returns inside and sees the guards poised to attack him as he peers through the door. In despair, he locks himself in his room, destroying everything, while blaming God for putting him through this terrifying ordeal. As he begins to pray, the devil appears beside him, threatening him with his own weapon. He makes Gabriel ask if he's given him the weapon, but the man pretends not to know him. As a result, the weapon disappears. He asks Gabriel to tidy up the place and starts a speech about how God has abandoned him. He also offers him the job again, telling him that he will have his back for life. Kevin asks the devil about his son, but the devil, furious over being rejected again, tells Kevin he is free to leave. As he departs, the protagonist witnesses the police killing his neighbor, who was attempting to shield him. Then the guards shoot at him, but Gabriel is not fast enough to hide, and he is also killed. The good thing is that Kevin manages to see the deflector bracelet on his wrist, because all this time his only friend was a hidden shister. Without hesitation, he takes it, and upon activating it, he manages to travel to the other world, specifically to a desert. He randomly presses buttons, which fails at first, but he eventually transports himself to the center of a lake. With great effort, he gets out of the water, goes to a room, and manages to heal his wounds. Now he finds himself in an asylum where several versions of Gabriel appear out of nowhere and start shooting at him because he shouldn't be here. In this place is also Molly from his world, transferred to a universe where she doesn't exist and where she is treated as a madwoman. Hours later, he approaches her. She recognizes him and screams, demanding an explanation. Because of this, the Gabriels find him and go after him. But fortunately, our protagonist activates the bracelet to escape. Now he's in a world where he accepted the devil's job and he has any woman he desires by his side. The problem is that Kevin from this universe discovers him and starts chasing him at gunpoint. Our protagonist suddenly travels to the first world where he was trapped, discovering that Rajit has survived. And before going to the hospital, he leaves his wife a drawing with Kevin's tattoo along with the word hope. A woman recognizes him and alerts the police, initiating a chase. He swiftly runs to the theater and, as if by magic, finds Molly on the first try. His friend Russo gives him the coordinates to travel, with the diverter disappearing just as the police enter the place. In this universe, Molly remembers him, but wants to move on, as time has passed and everyone must continue with their lives. The Benefactor takes Kevin by the shoulder and leads him back to the theater. With his power, he brings the original Molly to acknowledge that he purposely changed her son's reality, causing Kevin to try to attack him. The police then forcibly take him, and the devil forces him to choose between forgetting his wife forever or sending the crazy girl back to her family. Something magical happens because Russo finally finds his lost cat, and our protagonist takes this event as a sign of hope sent by God. So he decides to send the crazy Molly back to her family, causing the devil's fury. Thanks to this decision, a miracle blesses him by taking him to the world where his wife is a single mother and nurse. Kevin is now healthy and doesn't have his wedding ring, so he approaches the woman at the bar. Just like when they first met, they both fell in love again. They get married and have a new child together, forming the family he lost in a place that is not his true home, but where he can be very happy. This was The Shift. Don't forget to like, comment on what other movies you want to see on the channel, subscribe, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos.